Let's texture this maple tree. We need to create two materials, one for the trunk and one for the leaves. I'm going to start with the leaves. Let's go closer and I'm going to show you how the leaves look. Right, so the leaves are simple 3D planes composed of two polygons to give it some slight bend in the middle. So since the leaf geometry is not at all like maple leaf, we will need to use opacity maps for this. Okay, so first I'm gonna detach one of the leaves to get the UV template rendered out. I'm gonna select one of the leaf elements, detach it as a clone, right, and let's check out the UVs. Add unwrap UVW modifier and open the editor. Okay, so here are the UV template. Okay, so here is the UV template. We're gonna render it out. I think 1024 pixels by 1024 pixels should be enough, more than enough, and we're gonna save it as a leaf UV image file. All right. So now we're gonna go to Photoshop, open up the UV template, and find a suitable photograph to create our texture from. I've searched for some maple leaf images, and here are the best I found, and I think I'm gonna use this one. Okay, so I'm gonna copy it and paste over here. Now I'm gonna scale it up, but you have to make sure that it fits within the UV template borders. Okay, let's reduce the opacity so we can see better. And maybe let's transform it a bit with Puppet Warp tool. I'm just trying to make the shape fit the UVs a bit better. Alright, I think that's fine. Let's press enter. And now we need to create the opacity map. I'm going to duplicate the layer, desaturate it. Okay, let's make another layer below it and fill it with white color. Okay, and merge these together. So the opacity map works like this. The white parts are visible and the black parts disappear. So we need to invert this image. Press Ctrl I. And we need to increase the contrast, so the leaf is pure white and the rest is pure black. I'm going to use the levels tool, and with this color picker I can pick on some of the darkest areas I need to make white, and click on the outside to make it pure black. Alright. So this is a nice crisp outline of our leaf. Let's save it. leaf opacity. Alright, and go back to 3D Max. So this tree has two material IDs. The first one is the trunk, and the second one are the leaves. Okay, so here's the material, and for the second material I'm going to change it to VRay and assign the opacity map in the opacity slot. Okay, here we go. Now let's show it in viewport. Right, let's go closer. And the leaves look nice. If we render now, you'll see that the leaf shape has changed and looks exactly like our opacity map. Even though the geometry is simple plane, we can get some nice cutout shapes using the opacity. Okay, so that's good. Let's go back to Photoshop and modify this colored image to create our diffuse map. I want to bring the colors a bit more saturated, maybe increase the contrast slightly with curves, like this. And maybe make the greens a bit more yellow. Right, let's save it. And assign it to our diffuse slot. Okay, let's re-render. So there's a slight outline we want to get rid of. First thing we can try is reducing the blurring for the opacity map. If that doesn't work, let's try 0.5. If that won't work, we will need to fix the texture in Photoshop a bit. Right, it seems that the outline is still there. Let's go back to Photoshop. Select this white area with Magic Wand tool and use the Refine Edge tool. Okay, let's show it on black. Smooth the edge a bit, increase the contrast, and shift it with, let's say, -50%, something like that. Okay, -70. And make sure you output the result to a layer mask. Okay. Okay, so now we have our new outline ready, and let's save it. So this looks a bit better. Alright, let's move on to the reflection and bump map. Okay, so I'm gonna unhide the colored layer, and I'm gonna reduce the saturation like this. And with curves tool, I'm gonna increase the contrast slightly. Alright. I'm also going to create a new layer above it. And I'm gonna paint over some stems with white color, small brush. Maybe 5 pixels. And painting these stems like this. It would be a bit hard to do with mouse, so it helps if you have a Wacom tablet. Okay, it doesn't need to be perfect. Just go along and paint over. Alright, that's fine. Let's make it a bit darker, like this. And save it as leaf reflection. Okay, so I'm going to use this texture for both the bump and the reflection slot. Okay, so first the bump. And the reflection. We need to blur the reflections to make it a bit more realistic. Let's try 0.7 or 0.8 maybe. And enable Fresnel. Let's try 3 as IOR. Okay. Let's render. Looks okay. One more thing we need to do before we can call this material finished is add some translucency to the leaves. If I look for some backlit leaves, I'm gonna find some images that you can see the leaves are translucent and you can see the light scattering through them, and some darker and lighter areas depending on if the light is shining through or not. So we can simulate something very similar to this with using VRay two-sided material. I'm going to change the material from VRay to VRay two-sided, keep the old one as submaterial. Okay, let's move in a position where we can see some backlight. Okay, like this maybe. And re-render. Very quick way to add some translucency. And you can already see the effect in action here. Very nice. Right, for more realism you want to use a map in the translucency slot. So the stems would be dark or not translucent at all. You can see them here, very dark. And the rest should be lighter. Maybe let's try a color. And assign in the translucency slot. Okay, looks pretty nice. Let's see how it looks from a slight distance. Okay, so this looks pretty nice. But there's still a little halo or white edge around the leaves. Okay. Let's try and fix it. So first I'm going to reduce the opacity, my blurring, to 0. And I'm going to change my diffuse map a bit. Alright, I'm going to select the white part. Okay, invert the selection and duplicate like this. And I'm going to blur the lower layer to make it a bit greener. Okay, so the edges will not be white, but slightly green. Okay, and for this one I'm gonna fix the white edge with the Refine Edge tool. Just shift it in, increase the contrast, smooth it. Okay. And one more time. Just fixing some areas manually. Okay, I'm gonna paint with green. And let's resave it. Okay, let's check it now. It should look a bit better. So the white edge is gone, and I'm gonna call this leaf material finished. Okay, let's move on to the trunk. Okay, first let's find a decent bark texture. I'm gonna look for bark. And this looks somewhat like maple. I'm gonna open it up. Try offsetting to see if it's tiled. Looks nice, no seams visible. Perfect, let's save it. Okay, and let's make a displacement map as well. Duplicate the layer and use the black and white tool. I'm trying to lower the contrast between the green and brown parts. And that's fine. Let's use the levels tool a bit, just to make it a bit more contrasty. And let's save it. Right, let's go back. And set up a new VRay material. First the diffuse map. Tiling looks okay. I think so. Let's reduce the blurring a bit. Okay, I'm gonna use the displacement map in the reflect slot as well. Let's bring the glossiness down to 0.4 to make it rougher. Like this. And copy it in the bump and displacement slots. Maybe make bump a bit stronger. Alright, and for displacement I'm gonna try something like 1.5 to start out. So very simple setup. Let's go closer and render. Since we're using displacement, this takes a while. Okay, so the displacement is a bit too strong and the quality is a bit low. So I'm gonna change the displacement to 0.5 and increase the displacement quality here in my VRay displacement settings. Okay, we render. And I think it looks very nice. Maybe we can even make the texture a bit darker. Okay, like that. Okay. And let's see the whole tree together now. Okay, so our tree is ready, and that's how you make materials for trees. Okay, and now I'm going to show you how to make a quick variation on this tree in autumn colors. So we want the leaves to be red and yellow or orange, something like that. So I'm going to open up my diffuse map, increase the saturation, shift the hue, and make it lighter. Okay, so this is gonna be the red version. And let's make a yellow one as well. All right. So these are the diffuse maps. I'm going to go ahead and select all the material, all the elements with material ID number 2, or the leaves. And I'm going to detach them from the main object to make it easier. Okay, so detach. And once the leaves are detached, I'm going to add material by element modifier. This way the leaves will have random material IDs. Okay, let's set up 4 material IDs here. And create a new multi-set material. Set the number to 4. And I'm going to copy this material of the leaf in the first slot. Okay, so let's change the diffuse map to red one. Copy it in the rest of the slots. Okay, so the second one I'm gonna assign a yellow texture. Okay. For the third, I'm gonna change the diffuse map to color correction. Keep old map as submap. And shift the hue to make it a bit more orange. And for the fourth material, I'm gonna do the same. Okay, make it a bit more orange. All right. So now we have 4 material IDs for the leaves. Let's see how that looks. As you can see, creating an autumn or fall version of the tree is very simple and quick. You can play around with the material by element modifier to get some different results. For example, I want more yellow. I can do something like this. I can change the frequency of the yellow, something like 75. And for the first, maybe something like this. And the tree is much more yellow now. If you want more red, you can increase the first material ID frequency. And basically you can get any sort of result you're looking for. Alright. So that's how you make material for trees. You can use any tree you want, just find a suitable photograph of the leaves and the bark, and it's the same basic process.